Electric Fire 2 Hidden Chains Chapter 19.
Tom took us back to the house. Nothing was said. Normally I'd be talkative, but this time I had nothing to say. It also wasn't long before I felt my powers were starting to return. It was a relief for me. At least I haven't lost them forever. Even though my powers were returning, I still said nothing. Looking out the window, trying to think of a way out of this mess. I knew Robotnik wouldn't stop looking for me in Shadow. I didn't want to leave Tom and Maddie, but it was looking like Shadow and I would have to leave. But if so, we'd have to take Tails with us. I don't exactly remember the island that Longclaw had raised me on that well. Only there was no school, cliffs that collapsed, and loops. I was feeling low. Tom seemed to take notice. I could see the look he gave me through the reflection. At least we weren't a stoplight at the time, so he wasn't breaking any rules. He then looked back at the road, waiting for the light to turn green.
It's going to be okay, buddy. We'll get through this.
He said as the light turned green and we were off again. I wasn't so sure. I figured things would be best if we left, at least for a little while. Just until Robotnik thinks we're gone for good. Shadow had said nothing as well since we left the police station. He seemed lost in thought. I figured it would be best not to bother him in this state. I wondered if we were heading back home. I knew Shadow would be against the idea of leaving Earth. Even I was. At least we weren't going to the Mushroom Planet. And at least gonna run after us this time. But Robotnik knew where we say, so I was no longer feeling safe at Tom's. I thought about staying at Crazy Carl's, but then again, I didn't want to put Carl and Tails' lives at stake either if Robotnik and Stone found us there. It seemed the only option I could think to do was leave Earth, not for Earth though, just a little while. Once home, me and Shadow were told go to my room. Tom's orders, it was just so he could talk with Maddie alone, probably deciding what we should do. I sat down on my bed and looked up at Shadow, who just sat down on the floor in front of me. Shadow, I've been thinking. Remember when we last spoke about using the rings? Well, things aren't exactly looking good here. I mean with Robotnik back and all. I was thinking on me, you, and Tails going to the place where I was before coming here, instead of going to the Mushroom Planet. I know it might be dangerous there, but at least it won't have any killer robots, drones, lions, or even gun. We can stay there for a little while. I was thinking Tom and Maddie could come with too. They have jobs and, well, they're needed here. Shadow crossed his arms.
I don't know, it sounds like a bad idea. I mean, from what I've heard, hedgehogs and echidnas don't get along. They are just as dangerous as Robotnik. I mean, Tails said that your caretaker had died fending the echidnas off, right? It doesn't sound safe either, even with your speed and lightning powers. Also, if we left, Tom and Maddie could become targets.
Shadow's ears gave a twitch. He was starting to get a bit angered, telling by his body language. He did have some good points. Be true, the echidnas are a danger and they're power-hungry, well, not all of them are. I just don't know what else to do. I just lay back and curled up in a ball, not wanting Shadow to see me cry.
I let out a sigh and stood up before noticing the emergency back Longclaw gave him. It was hidden under the nightstand. I carefully pulled it out and opened it up just to see if the map was still tucked away inside it. My fingers brushed against the rolled up paper. I took it out carefully. Sonic took a peek at me for a second. I could feel his sad gaze. Once the map was out, I took a look at it. Hey Sonic, what were these other planets like that are crossed out? I asked, trying to change the subject, at least for right now. He uncrawled and wiped his eyes a bit. I pretended not to notice.
Well, this is where Longclaw found me.
He pointed to one of the crossed out planets on the map.
And well, these ones I have never been to. Longclaw found me by accident. She's from the very first planet over here.
He pointed to it before continuing.
She was trying to find more of her kind. She was one of the legendary warrior old tribes, but sadly, they were wiped out. She thought maybe there was a chance that some made it to other planets. That's why she had the rings. I don't know what's on the other planets, but I know they're crossed off for a reason.
Sonic was now in thought, looking at the planets that weren't crossed off. I knew he was thinking on visiting one of those. I let out a soft sigh. I felt overcome with emotion. I did care about him and Tails, but... Sonic, if you left here, I won't follow you. Sonic then looked at me in full shock.
Shadow, seriously, you wouldn't. If it was you, I'd follow you. I mean, you're my friend, right?
His furs gave off sparks of electricity. He was starting to grow unstable. Sonic, it isn't like that. I want to, but what about Tom and Maddie? Someone has to stay behind case anything were to happen to them while you and Tails are away. Yes, we're friends. Sonic then calmed down.
All right, I understand. Well, all right then. If it comes to me and Tails leaving, well, I guess we made a plan.
But then our attention was at the doorway. Tom and Maddie were there. My ears drew back a bit. I wondered how much they heard. Telling by their look, it seemed they heard it all. What will be our fate exactly? That was the only question I had in my mind at that moment.